All right, here we go. My streaming career has been on hiatus for like 2 or 3 weeks now, but I'm gonna try to get back to it. I'm gonna try to be more disciplined. All right, so where did I leave off? All right. So I think we added support for listing files. Let's see. Let's just pull up their let's see, Anthropic API. Let's actually go to their API reference. Okay, so creating a file, listing a file. Pretty sure I already did this. Yep. So I've got one method that allows you to list all the files. I've got one method for getting a page of files back at a time. So now we need to add support for getting a file's metadata. Let's see how that works. Getting a file's metadata. How does this work? List files. I don't need that anymore. Get file metadata. So all you do here is you just tack on the file ID and it returns to you an Anthropic file. Okay, so this would be pretty easy to implement. Let's start with a integration test. Integration, here we go. So let's add a new one here. We'll say fact. Hey Butterscotch, what's up, man? How are you? Are you doing well? Okay, so public async task, get file async. When called, it should return a file. Pretty straightforward there. All right, so when get files request, and then we'll respond with a file. Yeah, so we need to come down here. Let's see if Copilot can help us do this. Yep, that looks right. Yep, that looks right. So we need to implement this method, this little helper method. So we'll go here, we'll jump down here to the bottom, we'll say public. Yep, just like that. Man, Copilot sometimes is like, the thing with Copilot, the tab completion of Copilot is if your code base has like very well established patterns of how you do things, Copilot is incredible, right? It's like it has the context of like how you've written tests previously in this file. It has the context of like the structure of the class that you're writing tests against, and they can just like boom, you know, basically take what's in your mind and put it immediately in the buffer, and you just tab it into reality. Although there are times when Copilot unfortunately fails miserably, but we can't have everything we want. Butterscotch, it's 4 in the morning here. I'll stay for a little bit, but then off to bed. Yeah, if it's 4 in the morning, you should definitely be getting off to bed, Butterscotch. But I appreciate you stopping by and saying hi. Super kind of you. Okay, so now we need to implement the getFile async method to actually have this test run. So let's go to the source here. Oh, excuse me. Yep. 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 Let's see. Yes, we need a cancellation token, so we can pass that down. It will return that. Yep, that's exactly what we want. Okay, now we need to implement that. There we go. Yeah, we want this one right here, so we'll say inherit doc, and then public. Yes, sir. Copilot has written like 90% of the code so far. Yep, this will work. All right, now we'll go back to our test. This should stop complaining now. And now we should be able to run this test and see if it passes. Hopefully it'll pass. I think it should. No tests found. What? Let's see, .NET build. I forget what the key map was. It TS Control Shift T? No, that opens the tab. Maybe it was just Control T? There we go. Let's see here. How do we refresh this list? Oh, it's right there. What are you talking about? Let's see. TSM mark, and then TS, what is it? TSR, there we go. Run all mark test. I can never remember all my key maps. And it passed, all right. Wonderful. Okay, so now let's actually do an end-to-end test. So this is an integration test, so it doesn't actually hit Anthropic's API. And so now what I want to do is I want to add an end-to-end test so that I can have a little bit of confidence from a smoke test perspective that like, hey, yes, this actually works against the live thing. And I don't run my end-to-end tests all the time because obviously it costs money to send a bunch of requests against Anthropic's API all the time. So a lot of the times I try to achieve 100% test coverage with my integration tests, and then I'll add just a few end-to-end tests for whatever the feature is, just for like smoke purposes, right? So let's see. When called, it should return file, which is fine. That's basically the same name of that other test. All right, so first things first. So this is what I was meaning about, like, Copilot is exceptionally useful when you have when the context of your project has really well established patterns, and Copilot can very easily see, like, oh, this is how you set up a test in this file, so let me just repeat that, right? So it's not super helpful if you do things 100 different ways in a given project, but if you're very consistent with the way you approach things, Copilot's incredibly, especially Copilot from like the tab completion perspective, it's incredibly useful. So let me just add that, which should be good. So what we're doing here is we're creating our Anthropic client. The reason why we have to do it this way for this test is because the Files API right now is in beta. And the way the Anthropic API works is anytime you want to use a beta feature, you have to add a very specific header to your request in order to basically enable that feature. So that's why I'm kind of creating a bespoke HTTP client for this particular test. All right, then I'm going to create a file, and then I'm just going to try to get that file. So let's go ahead and run this. Oh, this is actually going to run this test up above here. There we go. And that worked. If you can't see, I don't know how big this is actually on people's screen, but you can see the green check mark. That means it passed. Green check mark, good. Red X, bad. This is a generally good rule of thumb to live your life by. So that was get file async, right? I think that's all we needed to do for that one. Yeah, this is just get file metadata. So we can check that one off our list. And then there's two more actions I need to implement. So I've done create a file, list files, get file metadata. Now I need to be able to download a file. So I think in order for a file to be downloadable, when you create the file, I'm pretty sure you have to specify the downloadable property to be true. Yeah, whether the file can be downloaded. Okay, so let's start with some tests again, right? This is the best way to develop, in my opinion. If you can start by writing tests. The thing I like about starting with writing tests is, honestly, when you're writing the tests, you can sort of do wishful programming, right? So you can sort of write the test or write the code in the way that you would like it to work, right? Yeah, you're basically writing it with the most wishful thinking, or the most ideal kind of API that you would like to work with. And it also helps you even like explore the API, right? I don't know, does that feel good? Does that not feel good? And then you can just backfill in anything you need to do to make that API work, right? To make that interface, that wishful programming, actually the actual code that someone needs to write. I know not everybody agrees with writing tests first, and there are definitely times when writing tests first is not the way to go about it. But 9 times out of 10, when you have an established project that already has an established test suite, you should take the time, start with writing tests. Okay, so what I'm realizing here is the method that I just implemented is not really the most ideal method name, right? So get file async. Maybe it should be get file info and then get file async. Yeah, maybe I'll do that instead. That seems probably, I don't know. Naming things is hard. Butterscotch TDD. Yeah, man, TDD's the bomb. I know people have very strong feelings about TDD, and I definitely understand that there are times and places where TDD feels like a whole heck of a lot of work for not a lot of value. But anytime I find myself not beginning with writing tests, I always regret it after I'm about halfway through the project. Every time, even for small stuff, I always regret it. All right, so let's rename this method. So we'll say get file info. We'll call this get file info, which isn't going to be a thing yet. Get file info. All right, now we need to change our interface here. That. There we go. All right, now what we'll do is we'll go back to our tests. And now this guy should stop complaining. We'll jump down here. And we'll say, now we'll call this get file async. When called, it should return file content. Yes, that is correct. Yeah, file content. It's not going to be it's not going to be text plain. This should be an octet. Yeah, an octet stream. No, this is the wrong documentation. We want download a file. Yeah, 200 application octet stream. We need to implement this again. So integration tests. TDD is good, writing tests is not. I don't know. I'm one of those strange people that I very much enjoy writing tests. I find writing tests oftentimes clarifies my understanding and corrects my understanding of things. So yeah, I kind of like the exercise of writing tests myself. Yes, this will work. This should work. So let's go to my interface here. We're basically just going to do the same thing. Only the return types can be the only thing that's different. Oh, we should probably update this doc comma too. Gets a file. Gets a file's information or metadata. Let's go metadata. Gets a file's content. There we go. There we go. Yep. Yep. I think it makes the most sense to return it as a stream and let the caller. I mean, then if you have a stream, the caller can. I mean, they can work with it however they want. I guess I could have returned it as an array of bytes, but I think for larger files, a stream is probably a bit better. We'll see. Oh, I haven't implemented that on the actual client. Public. Here we go. I think that's, yeah, that looks right. So if it's not successful, then it will return an error. So then in that case, we want to deserialize the response as a string. We want to read it as a string, then deserialize it to an Anthropic error. Otherwise, we want to come down here and we actually want to although I don't, let's just put this in a separate variable. Yeah, I think this is okay. Butterscotch, you can use ZZ to center your code. Watching on phone make chat overlap with the code. Oh, let's see. ZZ. Butterscotch strikes again with the Vim advice, dude. I had no idea. I constantly find myself like scrolling up and down, especially when I get towards the end of a file. So that's baller. Okay, so you're saying if I'm down here editing and I do ZZ, I love that, Butterscotch. That's awesome, dude. Thank you so much. Is there a way to like I actually don't know. Yield stream HTTP response. C#. Best way to return stream response in C#. I think this is probably fine. All right, let's see if let's see if it works. Why does it say that's not implemented? Oh, because he called it get file content. Let's do get file. There we go. Gosh dang it, Copilot. See, that's where Copilot messed up. Or maybe I messed up because I didn't read Copilot's completion well enough. I don't know who's responsible in this AI-powered world anymore. Is it Copilot or is it me? Alright, that did not work. No accessible extension method ID accepting a first argument of type stream could be found. Was that a build error? Stream does not contain a definition for ID, and no accessible. Oh, that's because I need to. There we go. Also, why is this complaining? Oh, there we go. It's easy. Oh, that. Try again here. Okay, that did not work. Why did it not work? Expected type system.io stream, but found system.io.memory stream. Is memory stream not a stream? Huh. That's interesting. Hello, Keyshawn. What are you doing? Keyshawn, I am working on adding support for Anthropic's Files API to one of my C# libraries. That is what I'm doing at the moment. What are you doing at the moment, Keyshawn? And I'm also drinking coffee and just enjoying a nice afternoon after work. I guess I could do be assignable to stream. That would probably work. There we go. Okay. Wonderful. So now let's try it against the real API. Yeah? I actually don't know. I need to find out if Anthropic actually charges you for adding. No, it's going to be. It's actually going to be a type memory stream, is what it's going to be a type of. Then we need to read it. Using var stream reader. Keyshawn, I'm working on a web app on Laravel. Oh, nice, very cool. I've heard wonderful things about Laravel. I do not know anything about PHP though, but I've heard wonderful things about Laravel and the community, the Laravel community. Lex West, where do you get the energy to work on stuff after work? Um, I don't know. I guess I just don't feel like I need energy because this what I'm doing right now I very much enjoy doing. Like this is fun for me. So this is more like a hobby than it is work, I guess. Butterscotch says, does coffee really help in focusing? Whenever I drink coffee, I get sleepy. Oh, well, that's interesting. It has the opposite effect on you. I'm pretty sure caffeine has shown to help with focus. But I'm not really sure if that's what I'm more of drinking it just because I enjoy coffee. So, I mean, it's the added benefit that it also does like caffeinate you. Life is much more pleasing when you're caffeinated. But I don't necessarily drink it for the focus. Keyshawn, I drink energy drink. It helps. I like energy drinks. My favorite energy drink right now is Ghost. Have you ever heard of that brand? That's my favorite drink at the moment. There's lots of good energy drinks out there these days. But yeah, Ghost currently has the top spot in my world. All right, so this should equal file path var file content. And we should be able to say content should be file content. So what we're going to do is we're basically going to create the file in the Anthropic API. Then we're going to retrieve that file and just verify that the string of text we got back is the same as the one we sent. All right, and where have we gone wrong? Expected to be true, but it's false. Okay, why is it false? This is a problem. Oh, because when I create the file request, okay, hold on. So how do I make a file downloadable? That's the question. Butterscotch, I'd rather drink water. Water's good too, but doesn't to me it doesn't equal coffee. Laravel is the thing that is making PHP relevant in devs. Other one is of course WordPress. Yeah, I mean I think WordPress is going to make PHP relevant for forever, right? I mean shit. Lots of people's careers have been built on WordPress and PHP. James Falk, if I would understand anything from coding. Also, greetings from Germany. It's 1 a.m. here, and I can't sleep. Oh well, thanks for hanging out, James. I hope you're doing well. Keyshawn, do you use any AI agents or Copilot? So I don't. I definitely use Copilot regularly. So Copilot is hands down the #1 generative AI tool that I use on the regular, and I primarily use it for tab completion. So you can kind of see that in NeoVim here, like that right there is Copilot trying to suggest something for me to write. So that's probably the majority of the AI tooling I work with the most. That's probably 85% of it. Um, if I The other way I use AI a lot is I'll use obviously things like Claude AI or Gemini. So the two tools I pay for Gemini and I pay for Copilot. I think Copilot's $10 a month and Gemini is $20 a month. And then in terms of like an AI powered editor, normally I just use VS Code. Like if I want to use the agent mode, Copilot agent mode, I'll just use Visual Studio Code. I have explored a little bit the Google Gemini CLI. I've been exploring a little bit with that. Haven't done a ton with it. I had it the other day. I had it try to build me a tic-tac-toe game just to kind of see how it worked and get familiar with it. But yeah, that's kind of like outside of Copilot, my AI usage is pretty sporadic. Uh-oh. I have no idea why Gemini CLI is not working. But yeah, those are really the only tools that I've used lately. Keyshawn, try Cursor. It's best. Chat agent is best. I'm 10x productive. It's free 2 weeks, then $20. I've had people recommend Cursor to me. I have not tried it yet, but I appreciate the recommendation. I'm not, honestly, to be completely transparent, I'm not a big vibe coder. Like, I've tried to vibe code some things, and that whole experience just has not been very enjoyable for me. I get it. It's one thing if your job is really pushing you to like you have to use Cursor and you have to be more productive with these agentic AI tools. Like that's totally one thing. But in my free time, I'm very much DHH in that like I very much like to write the code. I enjoy thinking through the problem, typing the code out. And yes, like I said, I use tab completion, but I'm not quite ready to just go completely vibe coder and just prompt everything. I'm not there yet. Maybe one day I will be. I don't know if I'll ever be. I still very much enjoy chiseling the code. I'm definitely aware of AI tools, though. Don't get me wrong. I'm not ignorant of AI or anti-AI. I'm not convinced yet of the agentic editor workflow. The two things I am convinced of agentic editor workflows is writing readmes or any kind of like documentation, and having it add either JS docs or XML comments. That is awesome. I wrote something. I wrote a little helper library for Hano. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Hano. But I wrote a little DI system for Hano based off of .NET's dependency injection system, and I wrote it all, and then I had Copilot write the README, and it was awesome. I also had Copilot add all the JS doc comments, and that was awesome. So I'm totally see the value in agentic tools, but I guess I'm not quite at the level where like I just spend all my time prompting the AI to do it for me. I honestly find it frustrating. I find it really enjoyable when I'm going from 0 to 1, but then once I get to a point where like I know exactly what I want, I find it extremely frustrating trying to prompt the AI to do what I want. It's almost like if you have a coworker who's like half as good at your job as you are, and you're trying to like manage them into doing your job, and they just constantly don't do it the way you would have done it, right? That's how it feels to me. And maybe it's a skill issue, but that's currently where I am at with it all. I'm not an AI Luddite, but I'm also not a AI hype bro. I think I'm somewhere in the middle. Excuse me. Okay, how do I download a file? Oh, you can only download files that were created by the code execution tools. Files that you uploaded cannot be downloaded. Well, does this mean I need to go implement the code execution tool in order to test this? Yeah, here's what their documentation says. You can only download files that were created by the code execution tool. Files that you upload cannot be downloaded. Retrieving files created by code. When Claude creates files during code execution, saving matplotlibs, generating CSVs, you can retrieve these files using the Files API. Okay, so this is, I'm gonna leave this. I have a work item to implement that. Let's see, GitHub. Code execution tool. Let's see. When implementing this, should add tests to make sure files created via this tool can be downloaded. All right, well, I guess the integration test is as far as I'm going to get with this. I'm actually going to comment this out. Let's see, skip requires file to be created via code execution tool. Yeah, I'll just remove it. Let's actually. Keyshawn, I have been coding since 2010. The vibe coding sometimes feels amazing, also making me dumb because I'm relying on it too much. Yeah, I totally agree with you. That's a real fear I have. Like that's, I do notice it. Like I do notice that if I've been writing a lot of code and I've been using a lot of tab, and then I turn Copilot off, there is like this, I don't know what it is, but there's this like 100-line code ramp up where I have to get back in the mode of not relying on Copilot to write the code. Which, yeah, doesn't feel great. So I totally understand when I hear people like the Primeagen or DHH talk about not wanting to use AI-powered editors because they don't want the competence like slipping from their fingers, like I totally can empathize with that 100%. Okay, I'm just gonna delete this. All right, but the integration test does work. So theoretically, right? Theoretically, the implementation that I have should allow people to retrieve those files. Okay, so let's go. What's the last thing was deleting a file, I think. Yeah, deleting a file. That's the last thing I need to add support for. Let's go here. All right, so you just give it the file ID, and obviously you send the delete method. You get back the ID you deleted, and then a type of file deleted. Okay, so we will need to create a new model for this, since we don't have a model right now to represent it. But again, let's start with the test. So fact public async task delete file async. When called, it should return deletion response. Yeah, deletion response sounds fine. So we'll do file ID. Yep, that looks right. We do not have this model, so this model doesn't exist yet, so we need to create it. So again, we're going to start with a test. So we'll say file delete. Let's actually call this Anthropic file delete response. And I know some people are going to be like, what? You're writing a test for the model? Like, yeah, I do. So Anthropic client dot test dot unit actually just don't do this. Let's just say fact public void constructor. When called, you should initialize properties. It should have an ID and it should have a type. Alright, so now we'll go add that model. What did I call it? Deletion response? Is that what I called it? Oh, delete. Delete response. I personally prefer to use, I'm not a big fan of using setters. Hey, what's up, Tim? How are you? It has been a while, man, for sure, for sure. Keyshawn, before I have to go to 10 Google search, reading multiple docs and Stack Overflow, but now I just one chat and boom, I haven't visited Stack Overflow for at least 6 months. Yeah, I will agree 100% with you. AI is wonderful for saving you a heck of a lot of tabs open in your browser. So I'm with you on that. RIP Stack Overflow. Yes, RIP indeed. Tim, how's the family? Oh, family's good, man. I'm good too. Yeah, everyone's healthy. Just enjoying our summer. Getting ready for football to start up at the end of this month. My oldest son's playing some football, tackle football, second year. He's excited about that. But yeah, other than that, it's just work, kids, sleep, write some code in my free time, stream a little bit. Yeah, that's good. Let's see, where was I? I think this will pass now, won't it? Oh, this is not going to build because this was not going to build because I have two methods that haven't been implemented. Excuse me. Keyshawn, where do you live? I live in Kansas City. So if you know where, I live in the United States. So if you know where the United States is, and then if you know where Kansas is, I live in the state of Kansas. And then if you know where Kansas City is, I live near Kansas City, Kansas. I know there's been people in my chat from all over the world, so I don't know how familiar everybody is with U.S. geography, but that's where I'm at. You know, I just realized none of these calls I implemented, none of these handle unsuccessful responses. And they all probably should, shouldn't they? My bad. Yeah, they should all handle unsuccessful responses. So we're gonna need to update that. So they should say if, yeah, they should all be doing that, exactly that. Because there's always a chance like a request can fail, right? So if the request fails, then the response body is going to be in the shape of an Anthropic error, so they should all be handling that back. I blame Copilot. Let's see, yep, I do that. And then, yep, this one, same thing. Basically, any of my methods that I added for this files API. Yep, this one should be this. I'm gonna have to add more tests to cover all those branches, but it won't be a big deal. In any event, I should be able to now have my tests run and hopefully pass. So let's go back to this one right here. This one should run successfully. Kishan, I'm from India, Mumbai. It's 5 a.m. and haven't slept because I slept in day. Well, you should probably sleep, man. Sleep's important. But yeah, I have an uncle who's actually from Mumbai. Obviously, an uncle by marriage, but yes, I have an uncle that grew up there. I think he came here when he was 18. He went to school here. He went to school at the University of Kansas, actually, if you can believe that. You should add a command. Where do you live? Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. That's a really good idea. Butterscotch is always leveling me up as a streamer and as a user of Vim. Or Vim, I shouldn't say a user of Vim, but a user of Vim Motions. Yeah, let's see. New command. Where I'm gonna call it where bro at. So since we have what bro doing, let's have where bro at. And where bro at, we'll say I live in the United States. If you are familiar with US geography, then more specifically, I live near Kansas City, Kansas. All right, now let's test that real quick. Where bro at? Yeah, I know I can do it through chat, but I'm not very good at doing it through chat. I've attempted it like 3 or 4 times and I always fumble it. Yeah, the adcom, yeah, I always fumble it. So but the command should be there now. Jarik Preet. Hey bud, what's up? Jarik Preet. I did a 2-year diploma. Should I do another 4-year computer engineering? I'm unable to find a job. That's tough, man. I honestly don't know, like, is the fact that you can't get a job because you don't have that 4-year computer engineering degree. Is that the feedback that you're getting? And forgive me, because I'm not familiar with the job market where everybody lives, but at least here in the U.S., it's definitely not necessary to get a job in tech. It's not necessary to have a 4-year computer engineering degree to get a job in tech here in the United States. There's definitely some jobs you won't be able to get without a 4-year degree like that, but I guess if I was in your shoes, how I would think about it is, one, is the reason I'm not getting jobs because I don't have that degree? Then obviously yes, you got to go get the degree. If it's not because of the degree, then I would want to find out why I'm not getting the jobs. I guess I might consider going back and getting another degree if it was paid for. So that would probably be another thing I would think about, is like, are you going to have to pay out of pocket for this additional 4-year degree? If so, then you probably need to do some math to figure out, like, is it worth it? And I would agree with what Butterscotch said just now. Like, degree is not necessary, but it does open a lot of opportunities. I guess I'll give you my thoughts as a father of 2. So I'm a 32-year-old dad of 2, and so if I was talking to my sons now or in the future about getting degrees, I would tell them you should definitely get a college degree because it opens a lot of doors that are closed otherwise. But I would caveat that and say you want to get the degree for as cheap as you possibly can, right? So if you're going to get a business degree, don't go to the University of Missouri. Go to a much smaller school, a much more affordable school, and get your degree. And then the second thing to that would be, don't take out student loans to get that degree. If you should definitely go get a college degree. You should minimize the total cost of getting that degree, and you should not take other people's money to pay for the degree. So if that means you have to work for a couple years to save up to go to school, do that. That's what I would tell my kids. That's what I will tell my kids. So I'll just share that with you if that's helpful at all. I don't know if it is helpful. Also, my new command didn't work. Oh, that's because I didn't put an exclamation point in front of it. Now let's try it. Where bro at? There we go. I still can't believe Nightbot is a free tool. I cannot believe they don't charge people money for this. Like, how do they support themselves? Alright, so we've got the constructor. Now we need to... So people would probably say, like, why are you testing serialization? But you're going to see in a moment here, this is actually going to fail. JSON assert. Oh no, it's going to succeed, isn't it? Where's the delete documentation? I have too many tabs open now. Delete a file. There it is. Delete a file. Oh, ID and type. Okay, yeah, so this will succeed. I was going to say it's not going to succeed because I haven't actually put the proper attributes on the model, but I don't need to add attributes because Let's see, public void. All right, let's see. Drake, I'm from Toronto, Canada. Okay, very cool. So I'm not familiar with the job market in Canada, obviously. I would imagine it's somewhat similar to the US. In which case, I don't know if I would go back and get a 4-year computer engineering degree, because I would guess that's probably going to be kind of expensive. You know, even if you go to like a relatively cheap university, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars to get that degree. Or is what I'm going to assume it would cost. That's what it would cost here in the States. It's way worse. Oh, like way worse meaning it's much harder to get a job, is what you're saying? I mean, obviously it's just hard to get a job right now in tech in general. It's hard to get a job right now, especially if you're looking for junior level, entry level positions. It seems like a lot of companies with the whole AI hype have taken this stance that we're no longer going to hire juniors because we're just going to have AI make up for all that efficiency. I don't really know if that's the smart move, but yeah, I definitely empathize with you that it's definitely not easy right now. But I don't know if the right response to that. Yeah, I don't know if the right response to that is to go back and get more education, especially if you have to go get more education and you have to take on debt. In my opinion, maybe the better response is to slightly pivot a little bit, and maybe if you can't get a job as a junior dev, maybe you can get another type of entry-level job at a company that maybe you want to eventually be a developer at, right? So sort of like take the side door, right? So maybe start as like a customer success person or start as like a support person and then work your way, you know what I mean? Like prove your value and then also prove that you have like these deep technical chops so that you can contribute to the company beyond your existing role. Maybe that would be a strategy. No, I don't need debt. Yeah, no, nobody needs debt. So I don't think if it was me and I was in your situation, I kind of feel like you've already checked the education box. Like you have a 2-year degree. Now you got to figure a way how to get some experience. And so since companies right now aren't looking to hire a lot of entry-level or junior-level developers, maybe your only way in is going to be taking some sort of side door. Butterscotch, if companies don't hire junior developers, how would there be senior developers in the future? Correct. Exactly. Exactly. And that's where the current logic breaks down really quickly, but I guess nobody in management or in the C-suite of these companies are thinking that far ahead. But you're 100% right. If today you stop hiring juniors and let's say AI only delivers, let's say AI delivers 100% of all the efficiency gains you hope for, in 5-6 years or 10 years, who are these people that are going to work with these AI tools, right? Like you're inevitably gonna create a skill vacuum. And so I guess from a selfish perspective, you can look at that and think, okay, if I'm a developer today, if I can just hold on until that skill vacuum kind of realizes itself, well, you're going to be super valuable at that point in time, right? But yeah, I totally agree. Like, I think Typecraft made a video about that. But you're right. Yeah, if you don't commit to, and maybe that's because people are like full on betting that like I mean, you have people like the CEO of Anthropic who are saying like in 5 years all code is going to be written by AI. I just don't believe the world moves that fast. Like, for how many years people have been trying to automate blue collar jobs? Like, automation has a long tail. It just has a long, long tail. So, yeah, I don't agree with the strategy, but unfortunately, all we can do is adapt to the market and adapt to the world the way it is and not the way we wish it was. So, I wish I had better advice for Jarak Preet there, but I think that would be if I was in your shoes, I think that's what I would do. I think I would obviously keep applying to developer jobs and jobs that you absolutely love and want. But don't be afraid to take a job that maybe isn't exactly the job title you're looking for or isn't on exactly the right team that you want to be on. But if it gets your foot in the door, like, it's a win. I could wait till I'm 26 years old. If I didn't get a job as a software dev, then I'm going to become a truck driver. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with trucking, right? There's nothing wrong with that. My grandpa was a truck driver. My mom's dad was a truck driver for many years. So definitely nothing wrong there. But I also think Jarak Preet, I think it, like, just because maybe you get a job as a truck driver doesn't mean you have to give up your dreams of being a software developer. Right? You can keep continually applying and working to get into a software job, even if your job currently isn't a software job, right? But I totally empathize with your frustration at the moment. Keyshawn, build projects, gain experience by working for free. Or take freelance projects for free, then try to apply. That's a great strategy too. Try to see if you can build up that experience somewhere else, right, on your own. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Definitely the freelance hill to me is definitely probably equally, if not similarly difficult hill to climb. But at the end of the day, it's like, what else are you gonna do, right? There's only so many options, right? Only so many ways to approach this. Landon Russell, I'm currently programming using PyDroid, which is a great Python clone. PyDroid. Oh, interesting. It's like an app on your phone. Very cool, Landon. Well, I hope you're enjoying it. Gotta learn however you can. Keyshawn, you can code inside the truck. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, right? Like, I mean, I personally have had lots of jobs, right? And I've never quit one before I had the other. And while I'm doing one job, I've always been upskilling and learning new things that help me land the next job. That's been my story. So that's what I would encourage other people to do too. Like, you get a job, and ideally the closest job to the one you want, and then keep continually upskilling and trying to prove yourself and prove to others that you can do the job that you actually want. All right, where were we here? We were trying to delete a file, weren't we? This should work. Famous last words. All right, now let's add the end-to-end test here. Public async task. Oh, I should actually center my code. Create the file, then delete the file. Yep. That's what we want. Let's try this one. AJ Labs. Yes, agreed. Keep learning. Follow me for tech vids. Okay. Okay, AJ. AJ's not afraid to shameless plug. Let's see. Let's go to your channel here.
Are you someone who's new to IT?
Oh, that's your voice, AJ, I'm assuming. Yeah, your thumbnails look great. Seems like you're a little bit all over the place in terms of content, though, huh? A lot of VM stuff, server stuff. Yeah, cool, man. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, peace, dude. All right, that worked. We created AJ. Still working on it. Yeah, man. Look at my. I mean, I've got nothing. I'm not a professional YouTuber, so look at my channel. My channel's all over the place. It's like 12 years old. It's got all kinds of content on it. So I'm definitely not. I would definitely not ever be critical of someone else's. Oh, appreciate it, man. Thanks for the sub. Keyshawn, I'm 26. I started as a graphic designer, then became a video editor, a motion graphics designer, worked as a courier delivery. Now I'm full stack web dev. Yeah, see, like, Keyshawn, you have had a very similar career to me, and you're even younger than I am. Let's see. Here's the jobs I've had, and I'll start current to past. So I currently am a software quality engineer. So I'm like an SDET. That's my current career, my current job. I was a quality analyst, which was basically just a manual tester. Before that, I was a support analyst, which was basically somebody who does the support work for a tech company. Before that, I was a food scientist. So I did research and development for a large frozen food manufacturer. Before that, I was a personal trainer. And at the same time I was a personal trainer, I was a medical scribe. So I worked in the emergency department doing documentation for providers. Yeah, so that brings me up like basically all the jobs I've had post high school graduation. So I've had a similarly eclectic career to you, Keyshawn. All right, I think let's see, lazy git. Let's see, implement git. Let's see, implement get file info async get file async and delete. We'll push that up. Let's quit this. Let's do a .NET test really quick. We'll see what kind of coverage we're looking at. So we'll say npx report. There's definitely lines of code that I haven't covered. So I'm at 91% branch coverage. Yeah, the majority of that is in this client class where I haven't. Yeah, I just haven't covered the happy pass or the sad pass of these methods. Yeah. Okay. So I just need to add some sad path tests for all these methods I just implemented. Landon, okay, hope you're doing well. I'm going to learn more Python with PyDroid. See you later. See you, Landon. Thanks for stopping in, man. Appreciate you. Isolate mind. So did you end up liking Golang? Yeah, for sure. I definitely like Go. I want to spend a lot more time on it. I think the goal I set for myself was to try to get to a point where I felt like I could confidently approach advent of code problems with Go instead of C# for advent of code this year. I'm a ways from that. I just need to spend time every day working with Go. That's just, I just need to get set aside an hour a day, right? But yeah, I have no complaints with Go. I think the one thing with Go that feels noisy is the way they do error handling, which I'm not opposed to the way they do error handling. It just, if you do like 3 or 4 operations in a method, and each of those operations has potentially returns an error, and so you have to check if there was an error and then do something about it if there was, just feels kind of noisy coming from like something like C# or even JavaScript, where the classical way of doing control flow is with throwing errors or throwing exceptions. Yeah, so that's the only really critique I have of it at the moment, and it's not really so much a critique; it's more of like a Steven taste thing, I guess. AJ Labs, every experience helps you grow and move forward. Always keep developing yourself. Knowledge has no age. 100%. Couldn't agree with you more. And I think if you had to ask, if you put me on the spot and said, Steven, what do you identify as most in terms of like, are you a developer? Are you an engineer? Are you a XYZ? I think the thing I would say I identify most is I'm a learner. That's what I do. I learn new skills, and that goes right along with your comment in the terms of like, any time you spend learning is never wasted, right? You can always leverage it in some way, shape, or form into the next thing that you do. Keyshawn, now I'm interested in CNC, 3D printing, and automation. Just learned SolidWorks in CAD. Nice, Keyshawn. Very cool. That seems like a really what would it be? A really good amalgamation of all your prior experiences: graphic designing, web development, like being able to write code. Yeah, so that's very cool. It's always good to have hobbies like that too. What time is it? Oh, it's almost 7 o'clock here. All right, I'm gonna go for another few minutes here. I'm gonna try to get this. I'm gonna try to write these sad path tests, and then I'm probably gonna jump off here. All right, so the first one here, let's go up to create a file. Excuse me. We'll say fact public async task. Oh, look, Copilot's already figured it out. Yep, that is what I would like to do. And then we'll add one for list files. Let's see, fact. Yep, when called, this will task list files async when called and request fails. Butterscotch. I think Golang error handling is its plus point. Treating errors as value is a great thing. Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you, and I have implemented the results pattern in C# code before, I've used it quite a bit. So I definitely understand the value of having the ability to return two things and be able to explicitly sort of force the caller to acknowledge that something could have gone wrong. And so maybe you want to respond to that. However, being able to throw exceptions up the call stack is also useful in cases like where you're building like an API. And you want to have kind of like a global error handler, global exception handler. And so no matter what, at the end of the day, if something goes wrong, your API is not going to crash. It's still going to return a response, and you can raise the error up the call stack from very deep, right? Like imagine something like an API where you've got like the controller level, you've got like a service level, then you've got some sort of data access layer. And let's say something goes wrong when you're trying to insert a record, right? It's kind of nice to just have that exception propagate up and then just have like a one centralized place where you handle those exceptional responses, right? Like just always return a 500, log the exception, and go on with your life. So I see the value in both because I've written both, you know. But to me, being forced into one way or the other is where it can feel kind of not fun, right? Like optionality is great, and I just don't know enough about Go to know like what are the idiomatic ways you deal with error handling, right? Like is there some way I can avoid having to always check like if you know, like I said, if I do 4 operations inside a method and I have to write 4 if statements to be like, oh, if there's an error, right? Is there a way I can just sort of like not have to write that? And maybe you can't. I don't know. That's why I haven't written enough Go at this point. That's been the only thing when I have written Go where I've kind of been like, I don't know if I like all these if checks. And that's not unique to Go. I've had that same reaction when I've written code in C# that uses the results pattern, and I'm like, you know what? This is starting to get noisy. So it's not really a Go thing. It's more of, like you said, treating errors as values and first-class citizens. I think it's a good thing, but then I also think it makes your code look really noisy. Excuse me. Keyshawn, I never use Go. Can you tell where it's being used in the industry? I think it's used primarily as a backend statically typed language. So any place you use Java or ends C#, you could theoretically switch in Go there. Just use to build backends or small console apps or things like that. Yeah, what Butterscotch said, backend, cloud stuff. I know Go is also being used to rewrite the TypeScript compiler. That was pretty big news that happened this year, that they're porting the TypeScript compiler from TypeScript to Go. So I personally, my thing with languages like C#, Java, and Go is I think that those languages, the usage of them seems to be very geographic. Like it seems like there will be large swaths of areas where C# is the predominant backend language, and then there'll be large areas where Java is. Like it just seems like the geography kind of takes on the tech stack of the people who live in that area. So if you have a lot of Go developers, you end up with a lot of companies that have Go backends. So it's probably very Keyshawn in terms of like where it's used in industry. It's probably very highly dependent on like where you live and where you're trying to get a job. EFK Ninja, enough Go. I'm sorry, what is that? I've only used C, C++, Python. Go is just another. So if you use C and C++, so Go would be more similar to those languages than Python. Go is a statically typed and compiled language. I think Go is it Go.org? No, Golang.org. Yeah, or Go.dev. If you want to learn more about Go. I'm not a Go developer, so I've just been trying to learn Go in the last couple months. So I'm definitely not a. My primary languages are C# and TypeScript. But obviously, I'm always up for learning more. Okay, that succeeded. We don't need to write sad pass for those. Public async. That worked. We just have two more tests to add, and then we should have covered all those if statements that we added for handling failed requests. It's funny, we're talking about error handling in Go, and this library that I'm writing, or this library that I wrote and am continuing to write, uses the results pattern. Right, every client method returns an Anthropic result, and that result has a property that indicates whether it was successful or not. And if it is successful, it has a value prop that you can access the value on, and if not, it has an error prop that has the error on it. So I'm sitting here like kind of like, I'm not knocking, but I'm sort of like, oh, I don't know if I like error handling like that. And here I have a library where I've actually implemented that type of error handling in C#. So like I said, I'm not a hater, just something I've thought of. Keyshawn, Java and C# are mostly used by legacy systems and more serious and security priority enterprises like banks or government services. I don't know if that's. I mean, I think that's historically a correct statement, but like C# and Java are definitely not legacy. Like in terms of languages, right? Those are especially. I mean, I don't know as much about Java because I haven't written a lot of Java. I've never written any Java. But C#, like modern C#, modern.NET, if you like TypeScript, you should go try to write modern C#. I think you'll fall in love. But yeah, historically, I would agree with that. It's kind of that statement, Keyshawn. Hopefully that changes, though. Hopefully more people will embrace C# outside of enterprise settings. There's definitely been a lot of work from the .NET team to actually make that so. See, Butterscotch, sleep well, man. Appreciate you. EFK, appreciate it. I've been making games with Python, but I'll sub and like. You have a good day. Oh, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, you do too. And good luck with all the game dev, man. I'm not a huge Python person myself. Like if I'm reaching for a language like that, and by a language like that I mean something that's dynamically typed and interpreted, I typically reach for TypeScript or JavaScript these days. But I do know how to write Python. It's never really grabbed me that much. It's like of all the languages I know, it's like it's the last one on my list these days, which is not a reflection on Python as so much as a reflection on my own personal taste. All right, now let's look at our coverage report. And I think we are up, 99. That's where we were before we started adding this feature. Let's see all these things. Oh goodness, I think that's... Oh, you know what? I need to fix these methods too, because these methods do not handle the fail case either. Well, that's a bug. But I'll do that another time. Okay, let's commit this real quick, and then I think I'm gonna call it an evening. Let's see. Tests. Add tests for sad path in new files methods. Oh, oops. I also need to push that. Okay, cool. Well, that was a pretty productive hour and a half for me. Usually I do not end up writing that many lines of code. So the library you work on is open source as part. It's open source, yeah. It's just I don't know, a year ago or so, a year and a half ago. I guess it's a little over a year now. I started doing a bunch of stuff at work that was related to generative AI, and started working really heavily with Anthropic's API. Was building a lot of POCs and whatnot. And so I ended up writing my own C# library to work with Anthropic's API, and I've just been updating it and keeping it up to date as their API has changed and they've added new features. I've been coming in here and adding those features or implementing those features, and so that's what I'm doing right now today. Is I'm adding a new set of features to it. It has right around 1,700 downloads on NuGet, which it's not a lot, you know. There's another super popular NuGet package out there that has over it's got 100,000, hundreds of thousands of downloads on it. But yeah, I've enjoyed working on it. It's a fun way to stay up to date with what's going on with Anthropic, and to have something to work on in my free time. So yeah, it's an open source library, and you can find it here. I'll put it in the chat here. All right, guys. Well, I am going to sign off for the evening, but this was fun. Thank you for hanging out with me. I've been super sporadic with my schedule as far as streaming goes. That's probably not going to change for this foreseeable future until the kids get back in school. So I'm trying to aim to stream during my lunch break if I can, and if something comes up at work, I'm just kind of moving it around as I need to. So I apologize. If you want to interact outside of a stream, the best place is Discord. Butterscotch actually just put the Discord link in the chat, I think. Is it working? Doesn't look like Nightbot is responding to the Discord command, is it? See, Butterscotch? Yeah, in any event, if you want to join my Discord and interact outside of stream, you can do that here. Discord.stephenfreeborn.com. That'll get you to the right place. Otherwise, I'll see you in another stream or a video or a short. But I appreciate you guys keeping me company while I wrote some code and drank some coffee. So, all right, y'all. Have a good rest of your Monday. And if it's already Tuesday for you, have a good rest of your Tuesday. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Bye.